So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of Spring REST playlist. I'm Abhishek Verma and in today's video we are going to learn about input data validation. So whenever you are making a Spring REST application, then trust me, before the intended user is going to accept or invoke your APIs, the hackers are going to invoke your APIs. They may try to transfer the wrong data also. They may try to steal your information. They may try to crash your database as well as the whole application. Now, in order to get saved from such attacks, obviously we need to make usage of Spring Security. But besides that also, one simple thing which we can do is the input data validation. So before processing the data, we need to validate it. So in today's video, we are going to see that only. So without wasting more time, let's directly get started and see how the things are going to look like.
So now we are in the IDE, and before we start with our today's demo, first of all, let's do a recap of the previous demo. So for this, we will go to this demo number 7 and we will go to its UML diagram. Let me increase the size a bit. So now here, if let me just scroll down, always this is the difficult task. So first of all, we see we are having a demo class here. Again, nothing much in this one. Then we are having the owner controller. Now in the owner controller, you see we were having all our annotations and everything. Then from here, we are moving towards the service layer. Then service layer, we are having the interface as well as the implementation classes. From there, we are moving towards the repository layer. The repository has been created with the help of Spring Data JPA, and it contains just one single custom query. All others are by default one. Beside this, we are having two custom exceptions, owner not found exception and validation exception. Then we are also having the exception controller advice, because this is the main thing which we learned in this demo number 7. Then beside this, we are having the owner mapper, which is made with the help of mapstruct. We are having the DTO classes. So we are having owner DTO, we are having pet DTO. Under pet, we are having domestic pet and wild pet DTO. Between owner pet DTO and between owner DTO and pet DTO, we are having one-to-one relationship. Then for this gender and pet type, we are making usage of the enums. Then in the database layer, we are having the owner entity class, pet entity class. Under pet, we have domestic pet and the wild pet. And between owner and pet, we are having one-on-one relationship. Yeah. So this is how the things are going to look like. And by now, I guess if you are watching all my videos, so this part is very, very common. Yeah. Now let's go to the main part. So in the last video, you remember that first of all, we made our controller class simple. So from here, we removed all the try catch blocks and we started throwing the exception from this class instead of handling within this class itself. Yeah. So hence you see our controller class looks that simple. And then the next main thing was about the controller advice. Why is it taking so much amount of time? It's taking time to load. Yeah, so there we go. So this was the exception controller advice, which we added in this last demo, where we annotated it with REST controller advice so that it becomes the advice for all our controllers. Then here we started creating the methods to handle the particular exception. So this one was made to handle the owner not found exception. This one for the validation exception, which we were doing that start date cannot be after the end date, something like this. Then this we were doing so that for method not supported exception. Now for this, you remember that Spring REST was providing us default one also, but I said it's a better thing that if you make the things consistent. So we are doing something like this. And then this was the exception, which was for the overall general thing. So besides all these exceptions, if anything will happen, then it will be returned as internal server error. And I told you that it's not a good practice to make usage of get message here. Instead, here you should be providing something generic so that hackers don't hack your application just by providing some wrong data. Yeah. So this is something which we learned in the last video. And now let's close this demo 7. Now let's start with our demo number 8. So first of all, currently my demo 8 is exactly same like my demo number 7 only. There is nothing new as of now. Yeah. Now, but for today's work, that is for validating the input, first of all, we need to go to the pom.xml. Now today we are going to update our pom.xml after a long time, because you remember that first of all we made the complete thing from scratch in demo number 1. in demo number 3 we updated the pom.xml, and then in demo number 8 we are updating the things. Okay, so here we have almost all the required dependencies which we need, but we still need one more dependency, and that dependency is to validate the input. So for this, one option is that you can go to the website of start.spring.io. Another option is directly from here you can click on this one. Yeah, so if you are not getting this kind of option, then maybe your ID is old or you are not making usage of Spring Boot suite. Yeah. So here, as you can see, automatically it is taking our Spring Boot version 3.4.3, and I just need to add one simple word, and that is going to be validation, and that's it. So I will be saying here next, and then here let me just increase the size so that we only add the required things. So we don't need all these URL licenses and everything. The only thing which I want is to have this particular one, that is Spring Boot starter validation, but I guess it is very confusing to see where is the arrow for this particular thing. So is there any way? Trust me, it is very difficult to identify which is the correct one. So I'm not sure. Let me just give it a try. So no, it was a wrong guess. So let me do one simple thing. What I will do is, instead of making usage of this, because the point is this part is not much clear, so I will just copy this dependency from here, something like this, and then I'm going to close this particular part. So I will do it like this. And now what I can do is I will come here and I will be adding this dependency manually. So this way is also going good. I guess Spring Boot suite just try to enhance that particular functionality also, because it wasn't much clear. So this is the dependency which we have added here. And one good practice which you should do is automatically whenever you are going to save it, it is going to update the project. But beside this also, just as a good practice, what if you wish you can do is that you can go here into this particular part as Maven, and here you can see update project, and here you can see it as force update, so that in case it has not downloaded a dependency earlier, then now it is going to download it for you. And that's the only new thing which we need to add here. Now from here, the next thing is that we need to go to our controller class, and that is going to be the hero for today. Now in the controller class, what we need to do is that first of all, on the controller level, here we need to add one more annotation, and this annotation is going to be @validated. So this is the number one annotation, because here we are trying to say that now this controller class is going to contain some of the annotations or some of the things which we need to validate. So here we have mentioned something like this. Now the thing is, if you see what we are trying to validate, we are trying to validate the input. So each and everything. So here, let's say this request body I wish to validate, this integer I wish to validate. Here I have both integer and request body which I wish to validate. Here I have integer. Here I have these two request param which I wish to validate. So for that purpose, we are adding @validated here. Then, so what we will do is that first of all, instead of starting with this @request body, let me directly start with this find owner. Why I'm saying so? Because this one is much more easier to do. Okay, so first we will do it for the path variables, then we are going to do it for the request param, and at the end we are going to start with the request body part. But before I do something like that, let me just quickly execute the code and let's see what is going to be the issue which we are going to face as of now if we are not going to validate the things. Okay, as of now I have added the annotation, but let's see what this annotation will do by default. So as you can see, it has started the things. Let me just clear it, and now I will go here, and this demo I have already copied from the previous one. It's not a big deal here. And now let's go to this find owner. So this find owner, you see the job is very simple. If I give a correct ID as 72, then in that case it is going to provide me the data. Okay, then in case if I give it something as 73, so in that particular case it is going to provide me this error message, that is this particular owner ID is not found. That is going to work. But what if I give it as 0? Now the question comes is, can your owner ID be 0? What do you think? What I feel is that since I'm these owner ID belongs to some real owner, so it should not start with 0 basically. Okay, so that should not happen. But when I try to go for it, what it will do is it will provide me the same exception here, or it will simply say me can't find owner with owner ID 0. Because basically what it did this time is, it first of all went to the controller layer. From the controller layer, it went to the service layer. From the service layer, it went to the repository layer. Then it executed a particular query, which is also going to take time. And then from there, it is going to provide you this kind of exception. So that is the thing. But you see that for this 0, it is not possible. Same way, if I give it as -1. So let's say you will say, no, Abhishek, 0 can be possible. But what about -1? This is not at all possible. But for this also the same thing. The control is going till the repository layer. Then you are making a call to your database, and then you are saying that, okay, it is not possible. So for such kind of things, isn't it better if we handle this thing within our controller layer itself? What if that when I say here this particular path variable, here only I will say that, okay, this particular path variable is not possible, or this value of path variable is not possible. Now for this particular thing, what we will be doing is that first of all, we need to do it for this path variable. So between this path variable annotation and this data type, so here we are going to add one more thing, and what we wish to add. So you see, what basically I want currently is, I want a minimum value for this integer. So the annotation is very simple, and we just need to say @minimum. So we need to get all these things from the jakarta.validation.constraints. So remember that this is the particular input which you need to do. You should not be doing any wrong input. Otherwise the things are not going to work here. So this is the thing. And now what we can do is we can go within this minimum, and here you can see what all things are possible. So it says by default it can provide you a message, and you can put up a value also here. So what we will do is I will go here and I will be providing some brackets, something like this. And within the brackets, I'm going to say here value, and then I'm going to say 1 here. So this means that now I'm trying to say that for this owner ID, minimum value should be 1 only. And as of now, I have just made this change, no other change. So now let me again execute the code. So as of now, we are going to do it step by step. That's why this video may become a little bit big. But in that case, what you can do is you can watch it in parts, and that is something you can do, I guess. Yeah. So now it is done. So let's go back here and let's again give it a try. So now this time when I'm trying with -1, this time you see it is giving me some different kind of error. Now it says internal server error. It is not saying not found. Instead, it says internal server error. It is 500, and it says find owner dot owner ID. So automatically it came to know that you were invoking the method find owner, and there it was the owner ID was the variable. So this must be greater than or equal to 1. So automatically it is providing you this default message also. So this is some of the things. Now you will say how it is providing us default message, because here you see here there is a particular default message also. Now what else you can do? So if you wish, what you can do is you can provide your custom message also, and that is possible. Okay, so for this what we need to do is we will again go back here, and here I'm going to say message, something like this. Here I will be saying double equals to, and within this double equals to I can provide some message also. Now what can be done? So here we can say that, okay, owner ID must be positive. Okay, so it should be greater than 0, or you can say owner ID must be a positive number. Yeah. So I hope this one is going to look good. Now let's again give it a try. So again, I'm going to execute it. So here you see, I'm showing you step by step. Otherwise, I don't think so anyone is going to show it step by step. So here again, we have started. Let's again give it a try. And this time you see, rest of the things are same. Here we are still getting internal server error. But this one you see, it says owner ID must be a positive number. So now it says that still you were invoking find owner. It was owner ID field was there, because it may happen there are multiple fields. So in that case, even this is important. And then this is your message. Owner ID must be a positive number. So this is going to work. And by default, it is going to provide you internal server error. Now, what else you can do is, so the thing is that here, so, I mean, this is going to work fine. So now next what we can do is that same thing I wish to apply multiple times. Okay, so I wish to apply it here. Then here also I wish to do the same, because for finding if owner ID can't be 0 or negative, then for updating also it can't be possible. Then same thing I wish to apply here also. Okay, so multiple places I wish to do. Now you see the issue for this particular thing. Now the issue is again and again I need to provide this whole thing. Okay, and what if in future I say that okay, instead of positive it should be like, instead of the word must, I should be making usage of the word should. So what is the drawback? The drawback is I need to change it multiple times. Okay, so isn't it cumbersome here that you need to change the same thing again and again multiple times? So as a solution, what we can do is that here you see we are already making usage of this messages.properties file. Okay, so this we were already using. So what we will do is that within this messages.properties file, here we are going to create one more variable. Okay, so I will be directly providing it something like this. So I will say here owner.id.positive. So this is my key, and the value is going to be owner ID must be a positive number. So something like this I will be doing. Now what I will do is I will copy this particular part from here. I will go to this one, and here in the double inverted commas, instead of providing this message, I will be saying this something like this curly braces, and within the curly braces I'm going to provide it as owner ID positive. So let me copy this, then from here also let me paste it here, and then let me paste it here also. Yeah? So at least this much you need to do. I mean, you can't say that, okay, Abhishek, again, we need to provide this. I mean, this is your variable. So variable, if you want to use something 3 times, you need to mention that variable 3 times. I mean, for this, there is not much shortcut. Okay. So this particular part you need to do. But now the better thing is that automatically it will be reading the message from your messages.properties file. And that code we have already written in this particular demo.class, that it should be reading from the messages.properties file. So this particular part has been done here. Now let's move on with the next one. So the next one is, as I mentioned you, that we need to go for this request param. Okay. Now for this request param, what do you think? What we should be providing? So here you will say that, okay, Abhishek, this is a date only. So for date, what we can provide? Because you see that later on in the implementation, in the service implementation, I'm already saying that start date cannot be after the end date. Okay. So that I'm already saying. Now what I want is that here, but I mean, still some of the things which are possible is, let's say that someone goes here, someone goes to this particular thing, and the only limitation was that this start date cannot be after the end date. But what if someone says here 2030 and here someone says it as, let's say, 2040? So in that case, what is going to happen? Again and again, it is going to make a query to your database, and from your database, it is going to say the list is going to be empty. But you think currently it is 2025. So how is it possible that there exists a pet who is born between 2030 and 2040? Obviously not possible. So this also should be validated. And here, what kind of validation we can say? So here we can say that start date, or whatever the date is, it should be either a past or present. Okay. Or it should mean not future or something like this. Okay. So we can do. So again, here one major thing which you need to remember is that whenever you are making usage of any of the annotation, you need to make usage between the path variable request param and its data type. So its place, I mean, that is very, very important here. So here we will be making usage of past. So either you can say only past, or what you can say is you can say past or present. Both are fine here. Okay. So I will be going for this past or present. And if you wish, you can see the internal details of this past or present also. Now this one takes a particular message, and again, it is going to provide you the things. But what I wish is I wish to provide my own message here. So I will be doing it something like this here. And then I will be providing it as message. So this is going to look like this. And there I will be saying this, here I will be saying something like this. And here again, this thing should be readable. So here I'm going to say start date dot old. That this start date should be an old one. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it from here. I will be pasting it here. And for this second one, I'm going to say end date. So these are the two things which I will be using. Then after this, let me just simply save it. Then we will go to our messages.properties file. And here, let me just copy paste from my other screen. So what we are going to do is we are going to mention it like this. I mean, there is no fun of typing all these things step by step. It will just be time consuming. So I'm saying for start date, it will say start date can be past or present date only. It's your wish. Whatever you wish to mention, you can mention it here. Yeah. And sometimes it's a good practice also that you don't print whatever the user is sending. Okay, it should not be a thing, because sometimes within that data itself user can provide some kind of script and other things. Yeah, so that's a choice, but it's your choice whether you wish to print the same thing or not. Now let's again give it a try to this. So this time you see, now it is not taking your code till that particular level, and instead here itself it is going to say, first of all, this thing. So this is your method name. Then it says for the start date. So start date can be past or present date only. Then it puts up a comma, and then it says for the second one, again the same method name. Then it says end date, and then it says end date also can be past or present only. So for all the things, since in this particular one I gave both the things as wrong, so hence it is appearing in that particular way. In case I was giving only one thing is wrong, then only for one thing it would have happened something like this. Okay, so this is the one. But here my problem is I don't want to provide it as internal server error. I mean, this doesn't sounds good that it is an internal server error. Don't you think so? This is basically a kind of a bad request here, that someone is trying to provide me a bad request here. So I wish to see a bad request into this particular one. So for this, what we can do? So what we can do is we will go here, and now let me just close this main class and these other classes. And from here, I will be going to this controller advice. So here what we are going to do now is that we will be creating one more exception handler. And for this, what I will do is I will directly copy paste the things. Okay, so instead of writing one by one, and now I can take time to explain this thing in a better way. So here, first of all, we are saying that this one is going to handle your constraint violation exception. So because something was wrong in your method argument and it was considered as a constraint violation exception, then this time, as you see here, in this particular one also, you see these were basically two different exceptions. So this was one exception and this was another exception. So it is possible that at the same time there can be multiple exceptions. So instead of directly saying error.getMessage or exception.getMessage, what we are saying is that from this exception we can get multiple violations. Okay, so many times it happens that like let's say you are driving something, and then the policeman or that person cop comes up, and then they are going to challan you. So at that time also there can be multiple violations. So here also it can be multiple violations. So here we are saying multiple violations. Now this is going to provide me a set of all these violations. Then I'm converting it to a particular stream. After stream, I'm saying map all these one by one. And when I'm saying map all these one by one, so for each and everything, I'm going to create an error DTO. So let's say if there are 3 violations, then instead of mentioning all them together in a single message, what I will be doing is I will be making 3 different DTUs. Yep. So this way I'm going to do, and I will be saying here bad request, this also bad request, and here we will say that okay, whatever is the status code of the very first one, you take that same status code for others also. Yeah, because obviously the status code for all of them is going to be same only. Yeah. So now let me just simply save this particular thing and let me execute this particular code from here. So again, it has started, and now let's see what is going to be the difference here. So it has started. Let's go. So earlier you see that this was something which we were getting. Now if I will execute it, now you see basically we are getting a list here. Within the list, these are my 2 DTUs. So these are the 2 error DTUs. So this is for the first one, this is for the second one. Because it may happen that when someone is trying to solve it, they may try to solve them one by one. That okay, let me first solve this, let me first solve this. For one, I'm getting stuck. So now this one is much more readable, guys. Okay. So this is one of the best practices that this also we have done. Now let's move on with the next and the major part. So now you see that we were able to, validate this particular request param also. So that was easy. We were able to validate the path variables also. That was also easy. Now the major thing left is the request body. How to validate your request body? Because these request bodies are going to be, a complete class in itself. So for update pet detail, let's start with this particular one because this seems to be an easy one. Okay. So for this request body, what we are going to do is that this time before add the rate request body. So again, this is something which you need to remember. So this time before add the rate request body, here we are going to say add the rate valid. So let's say Control Shift O, let's say Control Shift F so that it becomes much more readable. So you see for the path variable and other things, I was mentioning it afterwards. But for this request body, this time you need to mention it before that. And this annotation is add the rate valid. So these are two different things. Many times what people do is people mix match these two things. So on the class level, you need to say validated. Validated means that all these other things which you are using, add the rate minimum, add the rate past or present, add the rate something, anything else. So these are going to be validated. And for this request body, here you are going to say add the rate valid. And this needs to come before the annotation. Okay, because here you are not going to validate any particular thing. You need to validate the whole class. So that's why it is coming first. But here it was very clear that this minimum is for the integer. So that is the rule here. Yeah. So that's the number one thing. Now the next particular thing is that we need to go inside this particular class. And here we will be start adding the annotations, whatever you wish. Okay. So here the number one thing is that we wish to update the name. First of all, let's see what is the current issue as of now. So after adding that annotation, I have not restarted it. So that's why we will be able to see what is the current issue. So I will go here and I will go to this particular one. Let me give it as name as 72. And what I can do as of now is I can make it something like this. Okay. So, and this is going to work fine. Now you see that I'm able to update the name of my pet to something like this. Now you will say, okay, Abhishek, what is this? This means that there is no name for my pet. I was able to give the empty string here. Okay. So here for this name, we will be saying that for this name, it should not be blank first of all. So here I'm going to say something like this. So I will be saying here not, and then I will be saying here not blank. Now, the main thing which you need to consider here is that the moment you are saying not blank, you will see here two inputs. You always need to import the Jakarta one. Many times people import the Hibernate one and then they say things are not working. So you need to import the Jakarta one, okay? Because Jakarta is coming from the JPA part. Yes. So that is the main thing. So this is add the rate not blank. And yeah, that is going to do your job. Now let me just restart the things and now let's see what it is going to do with this particular one. So I have again restarted it and let's go here. So as of now, I have just done the simple things. There I mentioned add the rate valid and here I'm saying add the rate not blank. Yeah. So let's go here. Let's try to do it again. So this time you see when I'm just saying something like this, now it has again started working. It says it's an internal server error. This is 500 and the issue is it says this particular big message. Okay. Now this you see is a very, very big and it provides so many details about your things. Okay. But trust me, this is again not a good practice to provide such a big message. First of all, this is not readable. Second point is if a scammer will provide some this data, you are providing the scammer all your details. You are telling them what is your controller name. You are telling what is the package name, what is the variable name, all other details you are providing to your scammer. Okay. So instead of this, as a good practice, what we should be doing here also is that we should be making again this kind of a message. And here also the same rules, we will be saying something like this. And here, let's say something, this particular one, you can mention anything. So I don't want it to be blank. So I will be saying it as add the rate required, something like this, pet name required, or you can say pet name not blank. That will also do your job. And then what we will be doing from this particular part is that we will be going to this messages.properties and here obviously we need to add. Yeah. So here let me add it something in this particular way. So yeah, this is the thing. Name of the pet is mandatory here. So now let me again execute the thing. But before this, I just wish to change one more small thing. Okay. Another small thing which I wish to change here is that you see that for this one, it says internal server error. But as you see, I don't like this internal server error. Instead, for this one also, what I want is I want to see a bad request kind of a thing. Okay, so what we will do is we will again go back to this particular one here. Let's go to your controller advice and see. Constraint violation is when there is something wrong directly in your arguments, but this time there was something wrong in your request body. So then you need to create one more exception handler, and this is going to be your method argument not valid exception. So this is the one. Although the name is a bit confusing, that here also it says method argument, but yeah, that is the point. Okay, so this is the one. Now here also it may happen that there can be multiple errors. So what we are doing, we are saying exception get binding result, get all errors, then again convert it to a stream, and step by step. So again it may happen because for this there was only one variable. For other classes there will be multiple variables, so multiple DTOs will be created. So let's give it a start. Now you may say, okay Abhishek, how we are going to remember so many things? So guys, you don't need to remember all these things. Okay, ChatGPT is available to you. The only point is that at least you should know that these things exist and how you can make usage of these things. That is first of all mandatory here. So in the era of AI, the point is not that you need to just cram all these things, that okay, all these things are there, this is the way, that is the way. The main thing is that you should understand that this is the thing, so that in tomorrow when you will be asking ChatGPT, Gemini, or anything else also, and they will provide you a solution, then you know whether that solution is right or wrong. Now how will you validate whether a solution is right or wrong? One option is you will directly copy paste. It may work, it may not work, and you will keep on blaming ChatGPT or all these things. Another option is you will first watch my video. Now you will come to know that okay, Abhishek taught us that this is the way to handle all these things. Okay, now if ChatGPT is providing, then you can validate it. If ChatGPT is making a mistake, you can correct that also. So now you see it is providing a kind of a list, and it says name of pet is mandatory, and this one is much more readable here. Okay, so something like this can be done. But now there is one more small issue in this particular one. Another small issue is that here you said that it needs to be mandatory, but then what is the maximum size? Okay, so can it be something, let's say this particular one? So can your pet name should be this much big? Is it possible? So here you remember that when we were making it on the database side in the entity class, so there we were mentioning the maximum limit of a column by default can be 255 only. Okay, but now let's see whether this is going to be possible or not. I'm not sure what is the size of it. Okay, so let's try to execute it something like this, and you see what it says. It says this data is too long for the column, so this data is not valid. So again what happened, you gave a very big name, but in the database the rule is the maximum column length can be 255 only. So here that also we can do. So for this what we will do is we will add one more annotation, and you can have any number of annotations on your variables. It's not an issue. So here we are going to say size. Again remember, it should be from your Jakarta. So the only point which you need to remember is all your imports should be from Jakarta. It should not be like some are from Jakarta, some are from Hibernate here. So here what we can say is we can say that maximum size can be 255, and then we can also mention a message here, and then within this particular message what I will be doing is I will be copying this particular part, I will be mentioning it here. Then instead of this required, I will be saying here length like this. And now let me again execute. Okay, so now this time there are two different things which I have mentioned here, that it can't be blank, there needs to be some size, but it can be maximum 255 only. Now let's give it a try. Okay, earlier this was the one, and now after your validation, this is the thing. Okay, you see it is directly providing me something like this. The issue is that I have forgotten to add it into this messages.properties file. Okay, so yeah, that also needs to be done. At least I was able to show you that what will happen if you won't add. So here let's add. So here I'm saying pet name length, and here what I'm doing is I'm saying maximum length of name of the pet can be, it can be any message, your wish. Okay, and here I'm saying max. So what is the benefit? Here the benefit is that in future you say, no, I don't want it to be 255. It seems to be a very big name. I want it to be 10 only. So you just need to make change here and into your variable max, and automatically in the message it will get updated to 10. You don't need to hard code the number here also and there also. Only in one place you need to mention, and that is the point, guys. So again, let's execute, and this time I'm hopefully that it is going to work fine. Okay, but at least I was able to show you that if you are not going to provide the thing here, or it is not able to read your file, then what is going to happen. Okay, so now let's see, and yeah, this is working fine. So it says maximum length of the name of pet can be 255. See, automatically it has taken the value from your that particular DTO class. Okay, so this is how the things are going to work, guys. Now next one is, let's move on towards the next part, and that is this request body also. Okay, so now what I will do is, for this one, let me just fast forward the things. First of all, we just need to add this valid annotation here. So let me quickly add here, and now let's quickly verify whether all are done. So for this, we are saying valid. Here only path variable, we are saying min. Here it was path variable, we are saying min. Here it is request body, we are saying valid. Then in this one, here it is only path variable, we are saying min. And for these two request param, we are saying past or present. So this part is done. Now the only thing left is that this particular one DTO is very, very big. Okay, I mean, in owner DTO, we are having so many things here. So instead of mentioning all of them one by one, and then showing you, what I will do is I will bring all of them together, and then I will explain you in one simple go. I mean, that way it will become better also for you.
One eternity later.
So guys, now I have copy pasted the things, and now you see it is looking much more bigger. And that's the reason that I directly copy pasted, and then I can explain you the things directly, because multiple things are repeated here. Okay, so first of all, you see that within the owner DTO, here we are not mentioning anything for the ID, because you see, when we are trying to save the owner DTO, at this time the ID will be automatically generated. And here we are mentioning ID so that we just want to return it in the response. Okay, while accepting, we don't want ID. So that's why for ID, I'm not mentioning anything. Yeah, otherwise it will become mandatory for the user to provide the ID. Then for this first name, I'm saying size can be maximum, something like this. And again, I have provided a message here. Then again, since it is a name, I'm saying not blank. So since for most of your strings, you can think of a general kind of a scenario that for all my strings, I will be always saying size, not blank. Now it is not mandatory that for all your strings, it needs to be same size or same kind of message. It can be different also. Yeah. So here I'm saying 255. Same for the last name also. And this is also going to work fine here. Then comes out this particular gender. Now this gender, you see that gender is an enum. This is not a string. Now since this is not a string, so although when you will be providing like from here, so where we are, so here, whenever you are going to provide, so at that time, it may appear as a string, but in reality, this string is going to map with a particular enum. So for this enum, we need to handle it in a different way. So for this, as of now, I'm just saying that it should not be not null. So instead of using not blank, I'm saying not null. Yeah. Then for city also same, for state also I'm using the same. Then for the mobile number. Now mobile number is a string here. So first of all, I'm saying it should not be blank. Then I'm saying size. Now for this one, what I want is my mobile number should be of minimum 10 and should be of maximum 10 only. I don't want anything else. Yeah, I want only one size for the mobile number because I'm considering only for the India. If you are watching from any other country, or let's say within your project, you need to think of any other country, then you can make usage of some regular expression also here. Yeah? And that is possible. That I will leave up to you, that much amount of documentation you also should be reading. Yeah? So this we are saying here. And then comes up the email ID. For email ID, again, I'm saying not blank because again, it is a string. Now for email ID, generally we don't put any length. I mean, generally we are not going to restrict the length of the email IDs because that depends on the person, whatever can be the email ID length. But for email IDs, we have a special annotation which we call as @email. So this @email is going to ensure that within the email ID, somewhere there is @gmail.com, yahoo.com or something like this. So again, we are not restricting the domain, but this @email will ensure that there is somewhere in your email ID. Okay. So that is the number one thing. And see, again, it is making usage of these regular expressions and everything. So let me close it. So that was the thing. Next one comes up is your pet DTO. Now pet DTO here you see that within the owner. So it is possible that within the owner, you need to provide the pet DTO. So this pet DTO is again a class in itself. So whenever it's a class in itself, you need to make usage of @valid. So first of all, I'm saying it can't be not null. So it is not possible that you are just saying null. Okay. So it is not possible that you say something like this. That is not possible. Okay. So it can't be not null. And then we need to say here @valid, because for the owner DTO, we were saying @valid in the controller layer. And for pet DTO, we are saying @valid here. So this is the one. Then for all these things, it's very well that here I have mentioned all these messages. And see, it looks nice also. All my messages and everything is in the messages.properties file. Yeah. So now let's close this owner DTO. Let's come to the pet DTO. Okay. Let me close update pet DTO also. And there is no need of service IMPL also. Yeah. This is the one. Then for this one, again, I don't want to have the ID because pet DTO, pet ID will be automatically generated. For the name, I want it should not be blank. Size should be something like this. And see, this I'm making reuse. So this same thing I made usage in the update pet DTO also. Same thing I'm using here also. Okay. Your messages should be consistent. Then for gender, I'm simply saying @not null. Yeah. Then here also for the pet type, I'm simply saying @not null. For the enums, you just need to write this only as of now. @not null, that they can't be null. Now you see for this owner DTO, I'm not mentioning anything. Why? Because you see, I will be providing something like this. So within my owner DTO, there will be a pet DTO. But here within the pet DTO, again, I don't want any owner DTO. So here we had to mention, because it may be a scenario later on in our case that whenever we are just fetching by the pet and within the pet, we want the respective owner DTO. That's why we need. Otherwise, we don't need during the accepting time. Okay. That's the reason here. Then after this, next comes up is the wild pet DTO. So for this, we were having only birthplace. So I'm just saying not blank and size, a simple one only. Yeah. And then comes up is my domestic pet DTO. So again, it's a local date, birth date. So I'm saying it is not null and it can be past or present. So whenever it comes to a date, it can be past or present. If you say no, today, how is it possible that today a pet is going to take birth and then the person is going to register here? So you can make it as past also. Okay. It is completely up to you. And for all these in the exception controller advice, you remember that we have just added this particular thing also, that is method argument not valid exception. So now let me just simply execute the same thing. So I will execute it something like this and let's see whether it is going to work or not. Okay. Again, it is not possible that I will show you for each and everything. So I will show you some of the messages and others you have to try on your own after downloading the demo. Okay. So what I will do is, first of all, for this last name, let me make it as empty, something like this. I will show you. Then for the mobile number, I wish to show you something like this. I will do you. Then for the email ID, I will be just simply saying here Abhishek. Then here for this particular date, what I will do is I will make it as 2030. As of now, let's try some of them. Okay. Birth date we are trying, it's different. This is email. The mobile number is different and the last name is different. And this particular thing enum, we will try later on. Let's try this. So here, when you try, you see we are getting something like this. A beautiful list we are getting. So now what we are getting, first of all, last name of the owner is mandatory. Okay. Now what the person will do is they will come to know, okay, this is mandatory. So let's execute it again. So this way, that is the reason, one by one. So now it says length can't be more than 10. Okay. So let's try it in this particular way. So that is also gone. Now date of birth can be in past or present only. So let's again give it a try and it is going to look something like this. And then this email ID can be valid. So here let's say something like this and here we will say in this particular way. Now it is not going to check your domain. It will only basically be checking for your @. Yeah. So this, but before we save, what I will do is here I'm going to make it as null. And here also let me make this one also as null. And for this particular one also, for this one, I don't want to make it as null. I want to make it as cats. Okay. Let's see what this is going to do. Or as of now, let's try with that null only. Okay. So now let's execute. So this time you see for these two, it is saying that gender of owner is mandatory, gender of pet is mandatory. Okay, so in this particular way also it can work. So here let's give some gender for this particular one, and it needs to be double inverted commas. Here also it needs to be double inverted commas. But for this one, as of now, let me still give it as null only. Yeah. And now what I will do is, instead of null, what I will do is I will say mf. Now what do you think what will happen? Now this is not null, so will it work or not? Let's have a look. Okay, so we will again execute, and you see we are again getting internal server error. So whenever something will go wrong, it will always provide you internal server error, and this is in your format. Why this is in your format? Because here, whenever it is not able to handle any of the things, by default it will be handled by this exception. It will say internal server error. Okay, and this is for the enum. Now for enum, what it will say is that I'm not able to deserialize the gender of mf. It needs to be either m or it needs to be either f. So automatically it is providing this kind of a message. If you wish, you can say for this cats also. Okay, so in this case it is going to do something like this. But the problem is, see, now it is not reading it in a good way. Okay, because here this time why it is not providing a list, because this is not being handled by your method argument or your constraint violation. This is being handled by the exception. In the exception, you were simply saying get message. So whatever is the first one, that will be considered. So since it will start doing like this, it will first of all see this gender, it will throw the exception there only. It won't even show you for the cats. Okay, so for these enums, what I did was, trust me, whenever I was thinking for this demo, I did a lot of research, and then I came up to this particular thing, which I will directly show you here, and then I will explain it step by step. Okay, that what I'm doing here. So here I have added one more thing. Okay, basically this is for the enums, and you can give it a different name also, and you can say it as handle enum exception. Okay, so let's call it as handle enum exception in this particular way. And here I'm saying HTTP message not readable exception. So this is the exception, guys. Okay, whenever it is related with the enum, then within this what I'm saying is that if the cause is because of invalid format exception. So if it is due to something like invalid format exception, in that particular case only you needs to work, and the message, the target type should not be non-null, it should be enum. Okay, so whether that particular target type and all these things. So from the exception and everything, I also took some of the help of ChatGPT. Trust me, ChatGPT alone is not enough for mentioning something like this. Okay, I need to go to Stack Overflow, and then I was able to identify something like this. For you, you can simply copy paste. That's the simplest solution. So what I'm saying, that it should be an instance of invalid format exception. It should not be null, and it should be for an enum. Only in that case, my message should be like this: invalid enum value, %s for the field. Okay, then I'm saying %s. So basically I'm saying that this value is invalid. Whatever you are passing, this is invalid for this particular field. So cats is invalid for the pet type, and it should be one of these things like dog, cat, and all these things. So that we are trying to say here. Okay, so this one I'm directly saying get value, and here I'm getting it from the path. Okay, I'm saying field name, then these are enum constants and something like this. Okay, just a very big thing. Again, I'm not saying that you need to remember it step by step. I also don't remember it. But now the thing is, I'm having the demo ready with me. In future, whenever I will face issue that I need to validate enum, I will come to this demo, I will copy paste the thing. So at least you should be aware of that there exists something like this. Yeah? Because by default, ChatGPT always gives a wrong answer for this one. Trust me, this is the easiest thing for enum validation. On Google, you will find so many things. This is the easiest one. If you don't trust, you can go on Google and then you can give it a try. Okay, let's again see what it says now. So this time it says invalid enum value, mf for the field gender, and something like this. So again, we see that it is only showing for the one. The reason why it is showing only for the one, because we are not listing out it in that particular way. The reason is it's very rare chance that someone is going to make two enums wrong or something like this. But even if that happens, so now at least we are clear that this enum value mf is invalid for gender. Yeah, and it needs to be either m or f. Okay, so what I will do is I will come here, I will make it as m, Again, I will execute, and then it will say this cats is also invalid for the type. It needs to be this, and this. Okay. So we are providing one of the correct type, and here let's say cat, and this way you see now at the end we are finally able to create the things. Okay. So this is the way, guys. Okay. And that's it all about your input data validation in the Spring REST. So we learned so many things because there were in reality so many things. I hope you find the video helpful. If yes, please like the video because it takes a lot more effort to create such videos. Thanks everyone. See you in the next one. Bye bye.